another episode of Boss Talk Radio. This is episode 1 of season 3, and you're probably trying to figure out why that thing is out of order. It's because we make adjustments, not excuses. So, with that said, finally got up to do this whole boss motivation piece. I know some of my colleagues are like, really, dude? It's like a week and a half before the deadline, and you're like doing these kind of moves or whatever, but you have to get up on that thing when the spirit calls you, because when I do this boss motivation thing, it's really not about me. These are not my words, and that's why I don't care if anybody gets upset about it. So we're going to go ahead and pay some bills first and get right back to you.
She cute. Style, comfort, and confidence. Shop with the trend in mind. She cute. Get the latest styles in outerwear, tops, jumpsuits, hats, and accessories. She cute. Shop from the comfort of your own home with confidence and quality products, hassle-free exchange, and free shipping over $65. She cute. Visit us online at SheCuteBoutique.com to shop our new fall collection.
So, welcome back to Boss Talk Radio. So, if you've been following us for a while, about February 2020, about 6 months into season 1, we introduced Boss Motivation. And the signature piece on there, the first intro to that, was success conditioning. And so it was interesting because today we had to make an adjustment. So we had to do a pre-record for this upcoming Friday show, right? And in the process, we, turned some dirt over. I was like, ooh, I could use that. But interestingly enough, if y'all don't know, there's a couple of people that I follow. They're few and far apart or what have you, but I do because every entrepreneur needs a little something poured into them. So I was checking out one of ET's videos today, and he was talking about basically hearing the advice of others, not so much advice to the standpoint of change who you are, but just taking that feedback or whatever. This is something that we know, but sometimes we get feedback and it just doesn't quite resonate with us. And then you have to remember while you're doing it. I remember just recently talking to a potential outside producer or what have you, and he was making some suggestions about the show and what have you, and I was like, that just doesn't feel authentic to me. He's like, well, yeah, you're the tax man and you do this and this and that, and so more of the show needs to be about taxes. And so I have some subscribers that are faithfully tuned in every week or whatever, to the extent that I get emails if we miss a couple of weeks or something. And so I just shout out to those people hey, what's your thoughts on this? How much of this would you tune in if it was all about, taxes? Because we all know it's kind of hard to make taxes sexy, right? It's sexy to myself and my, nerd colleagues or whatever that just eat this thing. This is what we do. But for others, they're think about that in February, whatever, do my tax return, and I'm done with it. So I was like, well, there's that business aspect. And I find a joy into highlighting other entrepreneurs and dispelling these myths about the journey being so glamorous and everything. So I was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. So in my conversation today, with shout out to Stephanie D. McKenzie, super coach, we were talking to her today, and we unearthed something that reminded me of the very first episode of Boss Motivation, when we talked about success conditioning in that second mile. And I actually listened to a little bit of it, prior to going on here. And one of the things that blew me away was I never knew how chopped the audio was. I don't know what the reason was for that, but the audio was really, really chopped, and I was like, man, this was not cool. Such a powerful message. A little bit of that is getting lost in the sauce, right? So, but I'm glad I went back and listened to it because, one, for me personally, it showed me how far we've come. Two, I remember sending it to probably 50 close personal friends that are entrepreneurs and such. And the unanimous, I don't say unanimous, but the majority decision, probably 80%, was, well, I wish I could have seen you versus just the audio. Because when we started out with Boss Motivation, my thought process was, I'm going to drop this to you early in the morning. You can check it out on your way to work. It won't distract you from driving, right? That was the thought process. But everybody wanted to see my ugly ass. So I was like, hey, okay. And so that became a little bit more challenging. But this message that was unearthed today, when we were talking about survivor's remorse and coming, getting past that or whatever, and all of the different nuances with that, was this concept of getting prepared to do the work. I thought back to when we did the success conditioning, and the powerful message that was in that. And it was really like giving this metaphor analogy to a personal friend of mine that was an NFL starter, and the extra work he did beyond the requirement, even though he had the starting job and all of these different things. The extra work he did with one or two teammates, and then the more extra work he did when he got home, beyond that. And it was like, wow, this is really what conditioning yourself is all about. And I remember, if you check it out, if you go back into our YouTube playlist, you can listen to that first episode of Boss Motivation. But long story short, one time I asked him when we were all out on town, about his eating choices, what he chose to eat that day. And he responded that he was going to be, stronger, faster, etc. in the coming season. And this was like March in New Orleans, like festival season. And I'm like, well, why you have to, like, you got plenty of time to get in shape and then this, that, and other. And he told me that the gains are achieved in the off season, and it made me think about commitment, because in the face of, and I mean, we're in our early 20s. I mean, we got money. It's like, we got, never mind. Long story short, it was a young, rich lifestyle, and he had this dedication and commitment to stay and focus on his goal. It made me think about commitment, and commitment being the elimination of all options. There's just nothing left for you but success. And so within that, that's what that first talk was about. But today, what we uncovered was getting prepared to do the work. And then I had to just like kind of think about that first episode and go, wow, this is one of those things where before you showed up for practice, before you even got your practice scheduled, there were some things you had to do the work. And so here's how this came up. If you've ever, checked out the show and somebody says something profound, you hear me say, well, hey, we're going to get the shovel. We're going to go deep in on that thing. And so with Stephanie on Earth, she said, well, a lot of people don't want to get the shovel because that requires you to change clothes. I was like, ooh, what's good, Kabari? I was like, ooh, that's strong right there. She was like, yeah, first you have to change clothes because you can't do this in your $400 suit and things of that nature. So first you have to change clothes, and, then you got to be prepared to sweat a little bit. And I was like, you got to get ready to do the work. Like, before you even do the work, like, commitment to doing the work is one thing, but success in that commitment requires you to get prepared. So I want y'all to take a step back, rewire your brain for a second, eliminate all the challenges that you're currently experiencing in your existence right now, and ask yourself, did you get ready to do the work, or did you just go to work? And think about, thank God I don't have to deal with the 9 to 5 commutes or whatever, but I think about that and I'm like, People like have to put so much into getting ready that they never actually get ready. What the hell are you talking about, George? Well, let me tell you. This is what they have to do. They get up in the morning and they, go through all the rigmarole of getting dressed and sitting in the traffic or whatever to get somewhere, and they're not happy when they get there, and as a result, they're kind of executing the minimum. And then I think about like when I have to go and do a speaking engagement or a training class or something, and I don't get ready, 45 minutes, an hour and a half before work and just show up and kind of BS my way through it. It's like, all right, bet y'all paying me for this. Let me get to work, and I have to do the research, and I have to pull the documents, and I have to send that to the team for them to make it sexy for me, and then I have to go back and review what they've already done. Like, yeah, let's change this, let's change that. I want to show up like this, so forth and so on. And that's just all in getting ready to do the work. And somebody say, well, you make that much an hour? It's like, no, that's just the hour you see me. The work that goes into that thing, the people that have to be paid to go into that hour, that's a whole nother right there. So here's what I want to challenge you guys to do today in the way of motivating this boss thing. Figure out first the work that has to be done. I think that's where a lot of you guys miss the ball. Figure out the work that needs to be done. Once you figure out the work that has to be done, the next obvious step is to prepare to do the work. Get the tools, get the set asides, get the proper amount of sleep, in advance of. You can't just think you're going to show up and be successful at whatever that thing is. You have to get prepared to do the work. Only then can you even hope to make the commitment. See you guys on Friday.